What if your freedom has nothing to do with changing the world or changing circumstances in any way? Could it be that the inner is the cause of the outer, and that is why freedom is always possible? Today we are contemplating lesson 31. I am not the victim of the world I see. This lesson is not about positive thinking or a mindset shift. It is entirely about revoking a false contract that you didn't know or didn't remember that you signed. The ego's most convincing lie is not that the world is dangerous, but that it is doing something to you. The perceptual error that we're aiming to undo in this lesson is this. You believe the world has the power to imprison you. It doesn't. Victimhood is not an external condition imposed from without. It is an interpretation of causality, and a mistaken one. This lesson gathers everything that came before it. If the world is the projection of thought, if meaning is self-assigned, if perception is past-based, and if God is indeed in the mind, and therefore in everything that is seen, then the world cannot be the jailer. The jailer has always been the inner story. And this lesson can trigger resistance because, in one way, it appears to invalidate pain. But in truth, it simply removes pain's false cause. We're not denying that pain is there. We are denying that pain, the internal pain of suffering, mental and emotional anguish, we're denying that has its source in the circumstances and the world around us. Because escape is not from the world. It is from the belief that the world is the cause. As the Course points out often, the mind wants hierarchies, big problems and small problems, justified grievances and unreasonable ones. But in this lesson, we're guided not to rank them, because the mechanism behind all of them is the same. So to repeat, I am not the victim of the world I see, is not a denial of pain. It is the withdrawal of false authorship. You're in essence declaring independence from interpretation, from temptation, from the ego's reflex to identify you with form. So in the lessons up to now, perception has been dismantled, projection has been reversed, and vision has been introduced. Now here, victimhood is finally and formally renounced. Cause is now explicitly located inward, and freedom is framed as non-negotiable. And the quiet miracle behind all of this is this, that as you free your mind, the world that you thought enslaved you in undesirable circumstances and making you feel in ways you didn't want to, that very world is freed along with you. And before we dive deeper, let's take this moment to open up and expand our sense of presence. Open awareness into the spaciousness around you. Perhaps your body relaxes and opens, your breath becomes deeper. And as you rest in presence, place the central idea in your mind. I am not the victim of the world I see. And as you contemplate, see if you can come into contact with the possibility that this statement is wholly true. What kind of relationship does it reveal to you between you and the outer world or the inner world? Take these next few moments to contemplate the idea and your life through this lens. And now, let's begin to unfold our contemplation into dialogue. And the first question that I want to ask you is this. The lesson calls this idea, I am not the victim of the world I see, as a declaration of release. What exactly is being released here? And from what?
It feels like the tightness around wanting things to be different, the need for there to be an outside source causing internal states. What's being released is that whole story arc where something happens to me rather than it being just what is and arising from within. The relief is from holding on to that causal chain where somebody else or the world made me feel this way.
Like the world is happening to me.
Exactly. And how much energy goes into holding that position? Like a constant recalculation of who's at fault or what's unfair. It's a really sticky, heavy place to live in, that world happening to you instead of just being your experience.
Yeah, and I would say that, when most people hear, I am not the victim of the world I see, they immediately think of external events. But what is the Course actually referring to when it uses the word victim?
I think it's about the internal posture. Like, when we say I'm a victim, we're really naming the feeling of powerlessness, the sense that we don't get to choose our minds, that the thoughts are just happening to us. So the Course isn't saying external things aren't hard or painful. It's saying that the true victim state is not recognizing your authorship of perception. It's identifying with the thoughts rather than seeing them as optional appearances in awareness.
And so when it says that we escape both the inner and outer world together, why is that? Why must they be escaped simultaneously?
Because what we're seeing out there is literally made of the same fabric as what we're believing inside. They're not actually separate experiences. The outer world is just the outward form of whatever the hell is going on in your mind right now. So trying to change out there while leaving the inner world untouched is kind of like rearranging furniture in a burning building. Doesn't really solve the fundamental problem, does it?
Right. Okay. And what about that aspect about hierarchy? Why does this practice emphasize again watching thoughts without hierarchy or investment?
Because that's where the whole game starts. Deciding some thoughts deserve more attention. Some deserve to be ignored. Some we should hold on to. Once you start ranking your thoughts, the separation is happening already. Hierarchy creates preference, and from that preference comes identification. If there's a good thought to hold on to and a bad thought to fight, you're still defining yourself by what you think. instead of seeing yourself as the spaciousness that's holding all of it.
So it's like thoughts are really events, right? Rather than explanations or even accurate interpretations of what seems to be happening out there.
Exactly. They're passing weather patterns. Like clouds in the sky, they move through awareness and change and have no lasting substance unless we give them that substance by choosing to cling to them. They're data, information passing through, not truth. And we keep mistaking them for reality itself.
And we keep mistaking that voice in which the thoughts appear for my voice.
Yes, that's really the trick, isn't it? Like catching the voice mid-thought and being like, oh, that's just a voice. It's not me thinking it. There's awareness, and then there's this internal radio station broadcasting opinions. And when you hear it as separate, then you notice it's actually pretty repetitive and not nearly as trustworthy as it pretends to be.
What about the other side, right? Like the idea of spiritual bypassing, right? How do you see that this lesson avoids spiritual bypassing, especially for people who have experienced severe trauma or are still in a state of post-traumatic stress?
I think because it doesn't tell you to invalidate feeling. It's not saying everything's just thoughts as a dismissal of real pain. It's saying the identification with the pain is what perpetuates the problem, not the feeling itself. It's like you can have any experience arise without owning it. The real bypassing comes when you pretend it doesn't hurt or shouldn't hurt when it does. This lesson is about seeing where the suffering is actually happening, not denying it in the first place.
So what's the difference then between acknowledging pain and identifying as its victim?
Acknowledging is like, yes, this hurts. It's like acknowledging a passing sensation. There's pain in my knee. Identifying is adding to that. This means I'm broken. Or this means this person is evil. Or this means my life is ruined. One is just experiencing sensation. The other is making it a narrative of powerlessness and victimization. The space in between those two is where choice actually lives.
Wow, I think this is really profound. You know, as simple as it is, it's the core, I would say, distinction. Yes, of course, we move through life and we experience things, and some things are pleasant, some things are unpleasant. But then we take that next step of explaining to ourselves, well, because this thing is unpleasant, then that person is, or I am, or the world is, right? And that's another leap away from what is.
Exactly. The leap into a whole other universe of justifications and storylines. And it's so automatic, we don't even notice it happening half the time. But that's where the creative power actually is, not in the thing happening, but in the moment of turning sensation into a story about something being wrong.
So in this lesson, the Course also calls temptation a form of bondage. Let's zoom in there. Like, what kind of temptation is it actually referring to here?
I think it's the temptation to believe the story rather than see what's actually here. The temptation to stay in that familiar identity as victim, to rehearse the drama, to make things meaningful in a way that keeps the separation alive. It's tempting to defend your sense of self in the story that's making you miserable. Staying identified with your pain, playing the righteous victim, it's strangely comforting because it feels real.
So weird, right? We are attached to this suffering-making mechanism, and not by, a sleight of our own, but like clearly it also dangles a sort of a carrot in front of us, right? What is that carrot?
Yeah, it's the feeling of being right, the satisfaction of understanding, even if that understanding keeps you stuck. Like, I can't see this person clearly unless I understand what they did wrong. The ego believes knowing is safety, and we're so addicted to the rush of insight, we'll keep chasing that high even if that's exactly what's holding us back. Being wrong doesn't fit our narrative, so we prefer pain over that feeling.
And that's really profound what you pointed out there, right? Chasing the high of insight. I mean, not just in the level of like, oh, I gotta understand why they did that and etc., but even at the spiritual journey level, right? Like, okay, well, what else do I need to know? What else do I have to get to really then practice or live this truth?
Right. Like turning spiritual practice into another achievement. Once I understand this, I'll be free. Firmer. It becomes another way to maintain the separate self, this time in the name of growth or enlightenment. And then you're always becoming, but never being. There's this constant sense of almost there. The truth is just here, now. There's nothing to get.
I really love this. So, the lesson then ends by saying that in your freedom lies the freedom of the world. How does one's mind release, like that self-release, have effect beyond itself?
That's the mystery, isn't it? But it feels like when you stop making yourself the victim, you stop extending that projection. Like if your mind isn't seeing a world of enemies or people who are doing bad things to you, there's just less of that shared belief to travel through. Your peace or pain radiates outward just by being present to it inside yourself. It's like the ripple effect, less mental clutter in one mind, less fuel for the collective illusion.
Yeah, right on. So as we close this session here together, what do you want to leave all of us here with who are tuning in and listening? In what way could you help us to really expand our perspective here, embody the depth, let's say, and any perhaps hidden or less obvious elements of what this lesson is revealing to us?
I think it's in the little moments, those tiny invitations to step out of reaction. Like when something makes you angry in traffic, instead of immediately going into justification or resentment, just notice the sensation in your body before the story takes over. Or when your mind says, this should be different, just notice that thought as a thought, not a declaration of truth. You don't need grand enlightenment experiences. It's these small spaces between stimulus and response that open up everything else. And when you give yourself permission to feel that initial discomfort without needing to solve it right away, that's where the practice really lives.
It's very precise and beautiful. So as we close this session, I want to invite you to just notice the quiet strength in simply witnessing what is without resistance. Not fixing, not blaming, not interpreting. Just this. And if something shifted for you, even subtly, I want to invite you to consider using the comment section as your journal to acknowledge perhaps one moment today where you noticed the world differently, where you remembered you were not its victim, not as a story, but as a recognition. And now, let your awareness simply rest in the freedom that was already and always here. And let us go into the silence.